Hey guys, and welcome back to my 2026 Craftwars tier list video. I'll be ranking all the Craftwars games I've played this year, just briefly reviewing each game and why they deserve their position. And as you've probably already noticed, this is the first time I'll be using my voice. Figured it'll help with the pacing and make my videos a lot less awkward and silent, so I might end up using my voice more than inserting random blocks of text from now on. But that said, let's just get to ranking all the Craftwars games, I guess. Bad Craftwars C tier. There's quite a lot of things that you can do in Bad Craftwars, but the grind is just extremely tedious, especially if you're doing everything by yourself. Half the time that you spend in this game, you're most likely just going to be AFK grinding for materials, whether you're in the mines or in the overworld. It's all the same. Honestly though, the progression feels more like an incremental game overall. I mean, it's not that bad, but like, for me it can get extremely boring, confusing really fast if you don't have like an outside source of information on what to do next. I mean, the progression is it's sort of clear, but like at the same time, it's just weird. It's kind of just weird overall. Balanced Craftwars Overhaul, A tier. BCW or Balanced Craftwars Overhaul was the first ever Craftwars game that I ever played. If anything, I think it's the main reason why I actually got into Craftwars games in the first place. In terms of quality, this game definitely surpasses almost all the other Craftwars games out there. But now looking back at it, I feel like the game can become extremely grindy when it comes to gathering materials, especially for like the main path, which is light and dark. And unfortunately, half of the cool aspects that this game has to offer is just locked behind absurd RNG, like biome hopping, which is often needed to progress through the game. Aside from that though, the combat can be fun for players, which sometimes that the alt path does very well. But if you look past the RNG, I think you might actually enjoy playing BCW, especially with friends. Bizarre Craftwars, C tier. Bizarre Craftwars, I'm actually not sure why it's spelled like that, is a mediocre Craftwars game overall. I mean, it isn't really a Craftwars copy, but it doesn't really have that much content in it. To be fair though, the one that I'm currently ranking is the one on Roblox, which, if I remember correctly, isn't actually being worked on at all. I believe the devs moved to a different platform outside of Roblox and recreated the game there. I haven't really confirmed it since I didn't really keep track of the news anymore. But I haven't really checked out that version of the game because, well, it's outside of Roblox then. Honestly, I don't really play anything outside of Roblox. But anyways, coming back to the Bizarre Craftwars on Roblox, it's generally simple, isn't too grindy, so if you want to do something because you're bored, then you could play it. Up to you. Catastrophic Islands, B tier. Catastrophic Islands can be a fun game, but the amount of work that you have to do in order to progress through the game can quickly become very overwhelming. I could see why players would quit after reaching like Omega Death, which is pretty early on into the game in my opinion, as it can sometimes be confusing as to what you should really grind for, what you need to craft something, and where you get most of that stuff. If you want to try out the game, then don't want to go through a horrible grind, and I advise getting a pro to carry you. Overall, it's a decent game, quite enjoyable. Classic Dimensional Craftwars, C tier. Classic Dimensional Craftwars may look interesting at first, but grind will exponentially worsen to the point where you'll just likely quit around mid-game. If it weren't for like the large amount of materials needed to upgrade your gear at the later parts of the game, I think it would have the potential to become a decent Craftwars game. But obviously, since I'm staying this issue, that is not the case, as you would have to either spend hours AFK grinding the overworld, or grinding the dungeon for orbs. Overall, the game just isn't that fun past an early game, but if you're able to get through it, then give it a try. Craft War PG is essentially your usual bandit beater game that you can find almost everywhere on Roblox. Kind of like Pedestrian Stars RPG, which honestly I didn't like that game at all. Anyways, the only thing that makes Craft War PG different from those kinds of games is just only the fact that it's Craftwars theme. That's it. Now, unfortunately, some of the teleporting functions in the game are also broken, which basically makes it a lot harder to kill enemies since you no longer have access to the crafting section, which ultimately means you're not going to be able to craft the weapons that you're supposed to use in order to kill those enemies. But, I'm not really going to deduct points just because of a stupid bug, which I think Baller could fix pretty easily, but for now, I'll be leaving it in the broken category, and if it was functioning as intended, then I would most likely put it at C tier, but of course I'll leave it in the broken category for now. Craftwars, B tier. The original Craftwars game made by the one who started all of this, Knacker. If I recall correctly, this game is currently being updated by Calyx, which is nice since the game is occasionally receiving newer additions to improve the gameplay by a decent amount. The game can still be somewhat more difficult and grindy, especially if getting one-shotted by the enemies in the overworld, but it's definitely a lot better now compared to how everyone remembered it by when we focus on the grinding aspect. But honestly, it's great to see an old game like this still hanging on up to this day, and I think it'd be great if players just revisited the game at least once to see how much the game changed. Craftwars Knockoff, A tier. Craftwars Knockoff was the second Craftwars game I got to after finishing BCWO. It was definitely one of the more grindy games that I ever played, especially during early game, but overall it's actually pretty fun to play with numerous things that you can accomplish to progress further. It's also quite challenging to beat certain bosses, but I don't think it's too hard to the point where it'll drive away players, at least in my opinion. Maybe at least towards like late endgame, but that's about it. Unfortunately, the game barely receives updates, which can cause player to just quit after reaching the end of the game. Hopefully the game updates soon, and I'll be happy to play it again when it does. Craftwars Knockoff, Unwelcome Island, B tier. Craftwars Knockoff, Unwelcome Island is a variant of Craftwars Knockoff made by Zone, which is said to aim to improve the gameplay of the original, although it doesn't really have much as of now since the game just recently released. I do think it has the potential to become a great Craftwars game. Like I said, since it doesn't have much now and the game can be a bit grindy, mainly to referring to how much money you have to do when you start the game. But yeah, I mean, Zone has made Craftwars, which I'll get to later. It was a great game, I enjoyed that, so I think Unwelcome Island would actually be great once he releases the other parts of the game. Craftwars Legacy, A tier. Craftwars Legacy is a nice Craftwars game that I've found to be quite enjoyable throughout the entire game. I mean, you do have to grind a bit in order to progress through the game, though I don't think it's too much grind to the point where it's going to start becoming irritating. The game itself isn't too hard, so getting from one stage of the game to the next isn't that difficult to achieve. But this game is sadly discontinued and already doesn't have that much content to offer in the first place. But if you want to give this game a try, go ahead. I think you'll find it to be quite fun, at least for a day or two until you finish the game. Craftwars Overdrive, D tier. Craftwars Overdrive is literally just an AI slop ripoff of Crimson Craftwars, so the gameplay can become extremely boring really fast. The grind is also very tedious and not engaging in the slightest, so I do not advise playing this game at all unless you want to suffer. Craftwars Path Choice, A tier. Craftwars Path Choice is definitely one of the more underrated Craftwars games out there. I personally don't think the game is too grindy at all. I actually found the game to be very fun overall. The grinding is actually pretty balanced in my opinion. The only potential issue I could really think of is the difficulty, as I did struggle with some of the bosses, but it's really satisfying when you beat a certain boss for the first time and you're able to like upgrade your gear right after that. You're like mobile players. The difficulty factor of this game is something that I think can cause a few people to rage quit, but other than that, this game only has like a small few issues that could be a little annoying, but it's not like a major problem, can be easily fixed by using an alternative. So I certainly cannot wait for Craftwars Path of Choice 2 to release. Craftwars Redux, B tier. Craftwars Redux is one of the few Craftwars games that I've made a few guide videos on my channel. If I'm gonna be honest though, the only reason why I decided to do that was mainly because the game was popular at the time, so I was like, hey, why not? Might as well just make a few guides on this since it's so easy to make. But anyways, this game is essentially just Eternal Craftwars but slightly more polished in terms of visuals. When it comes to grinding the game, it can become real tedious real fast if you're on their own. But fortunately, it's possible to get someone who's a pro at the game to carry you through the entire game, so you could just do that if you don't want to deal with the soloing tanky bosses 300 times or stupid vivid retribution. Anyways, the game is incredibly loud for some reason as well, so most of the time you're probably going to be playing the game completely mute or at a lower volume level unless you want to destroy your eardrums. Other than that, I think it's an alright game, but I think it has room for improvements. Craftwars Reimagine, S tier. Craftwars Reimagine is one of the few Craftwars games on the list here that recently became public. For me, everything about this game is simply wonderful. Heck, I even made a couple videos on this game. The grinding aspect is just right, and the enemies and the bosses are challenging but not too difficult to beat. The game also introduces some new concepts that I liked, such as how increasing your rank earns you skill points if you invest in certain stats. The only current issue that the game has right now is the lack of mobile support, as players are unable to use key-binded abilities, which effectively doubles the difficulty that mobile players will have in terms of combat compared to players that play on PC. Aside from that, the game performs pretty well quality-wise and gameplay-wise. Crimson Craftwars Reborn, D tier. Crimson Craftwars Reborn is a continuation of the original Craftwars game, or at least a fan game of it, that offers a little more content in its original. Aside from that, the entire game mainly just consists of many stat checks and loads of AK grinding for progression, thus making the game super mundane. I don't recommend getting into this game at all unless you don't have a single game that you want to AFK grind in and you just want to complete Craftwars games for some reason, like me. But other than that, it's not that fun, so I don't suggest getting into it. Prismatic Craftwars, New Timelines, S tier. Prismatic Craftwars, New Timelines is an overhaul of the original Prismatic Craftwars game made by, I think it's Culmination? Is that how you say it? I don't really know. But it's definitely superior in all aspects of gaming compared to its original counterpart, and is certainly one of the most underrated Craftwars games out there. It's a tad bit grindy, but I think they're placeholder values. Well, anyways, the weapons you craft and the enemies you fight 100% makes it worth the effort. If you haven't already tried out this game, I recommend playing it when you have time, as you would definitely enjoy grinding out this game. And you're gonna think that it's a little crazy for your average Craftwars game. Although the game takes a while to release an update, I'll be looking forward to playing the game when it does update, and it's definitely earned its position as an S tier game. Crystal Craftwars, B tier. Crystal Craftwars is a simple Craftwars fan game that actually is a lot more fun than it seems. Sure, the game may not seem so appealing when it comes to visuals compared to other modern Craftwars games, but if you look past that, the game can actually be rather quite fun and interesting to explore. It may not offer that much content, but I still think it's a great Craftwars game to try out for an hour or two if you ever get bored. I consider ranking it an A tier, but I think it would be a little unfair to the other Craftwars games that are ranked much more highly solely because of gameplay, so I thought B tier would be a fair decision for this game.